What if I told you there's a neighborhood that doesn't exist until the clock strikes 3:07 a.m.? A place that appears on Google Maps only for those awake when the world is silent and disappears again before sunrise. Most people think it's a glitch, a rendering bug, a simple digital hiccup. But those who looked closer swear the map was showing something it shouldn't. Something hidden, something alive. It all started when Daniel, a night shift security guard, zoomed into an empty stretch of land on the outskirts of his city, a place he knew well, flat, abandoned, forgotten. Yet on the screen, a fully formed neighborhood appeared out of nowhere. Narrow streets, 6 identical houses, and a long, dark alley that had no name. Every structure was perfectly symmetrical, except one house, whose roof seemed slightly fractured, like something had broken through from the inside. When Daniel tried to click Street View, the map jerked, glitched, then stabilized, but now something else had changed. A lone figure stood at the end of the alley. Blurry, motionless, facing him. The figure seemed to get closer with each map update until something impossible happened. Daniel froze. The figure on the screen wasn't part of any archived image. He could tell by the way it shifted each time he moved the map, as if reacting to him. Street View wasn't supposed to behave like this, yet the silhouette grew sharper, its outline flickering like static trying to take shape. He zoomed in again. A mistake. The figure tilted its head in a slow, unnatural motion directly toward him. He stepped back from the monitor, pulse hammering. When he leaned in again, the map had changed. A new pin had appeared. "You are here." But the location wasn't on the mysterious neighborhood. It was on his own building, the security booth where he sat. A chill climbed his spine. He clicked the pin. The interface glitched, the screen dimming for a second before loading an image. A grainy Street View shot from the sidewalk, aimed directly at the security booth window. One detail made his stomach drop. The photo was time-stamped 2 minutes in the future. Behind him, something brushed against the glass. Slow, deliberate, almost curious. When Daniel turned around, he realized the figure from the map was no longer confined to the screen. Daniel's breath caught in his throat. The booth's glass reflected only darkness behind him, yet the sound, a faint drag like fingertips tracing the surface, had been real. He forced himself to turn slowly. Nothing outside moved. The parking lot lay empty, the streetlights flickering with a weak, sickly glow. But his instinct screamed that he was no longer alone. He looked back at the monitor, trying to steady his breathing, only to find the map had shifted again. Street View now showed the mysterious neighborhood from a new angle, an alley he hadn't clicked on, one lined with houses that seemed older than any American architecture, roofs slanted too steeply, windows too narrow, as if built for people who didn't need sunlight. At the end of the alley stood a door, a single, rotting wooden door that didn't match the rest of the scenery. As he watched, the doorknob twitched. Then it began to turn, slowly, purposefully, as if something on the other side knew he was watching. Daniel's hand hovered over the mouse, trembling, but before he could zoom in, the image updated by itself. The door was now completely open, and inside the doorway, barely visible through the fog-like distortion, was a shape, tall, thin, leaning forward as though stepping into the frame. A notification pinged softly. A new message had appeared under the image. "Stop looking." The lights in Daniel's booth suddenly went out. The next night, Ethan prepared himself.
He waited until 2:59 a.m., heart hammering in his chest, fingers trembling above the trackpad. When the clock shifted to 3, he typed Hollow Pines into the search bar again. The map instantly pulled him in, far faster than usual, zooming straight into the same patch of forest. But this time, the feed didn't load an image. It loaded a video. A shaky, grainy night vision recording pointed at the street he had seen before. Ethan froze. Google Maps didn't show videos. Not live, not recorded, not ever. Yet the timestamp at the corner flickered faintly, 02:57 a.m. Live. In the footage, the same cul-de-sac lay silent. Same houses, same streetlights, same empty road. But after 5 seconds, Ethan noticed movement. A figure walked into frame. Tall, thin, wrong. Its gait was stiff, like each step didn't belong to human joints. It stopped in the center of the street and turned its head, not toward the camera, but toward Ethan's screen, as if staring through it. Ethan's breathing hitched. The figure raised one arm and pointed at something behind the camera, behind him. His room grew colder. The video glitched, pixels trembling as another shape emerged behind the first one. Taller, closer, moving toward the lens. And then the feed cut to black.
Ethan's screen stayed black for 3 whole seconds, long enough for dread to spread through his chest like ice. Then, a single line of text appeared in plain white letters. Stop searching. The message wasn't part of the interface. It floated over the screen, as if written by something inside the blackout. Ethan yanked his hands from the laptop, pulse roaring in his ears. He tried to close the browser. Nothing happened. Tried to shut the computer. Frozen. The cursor began to move on its own, sliding back to the search bar, typing out his home address with mechanical precision. Ethan watched, paralyzed, as the map zoomed toward his street, his house, his window. The satellite image, recent, disturbingly recent, showed something new. A shape standing right outside his bedroom window. The same figure from the video, same stature, same impossible posture. Ethan stumbled backward from the desk, kicking the chair aside. He forced the laptop shut and disconnected the power, but the device clicked open again by itself, springs pushing the screen upright like invisible hands. The map remained zoomed in on his house, a blinking red square marking his exact location. Then the image refreshed. The figure was no longer at the window. He was on the porch. One step closer, one frame closer, one moment closer. A soft knock echoed through Ethan's room.
Ethan froze. The knock wasn't loud, wasn't hurried. It was deliberate, almost polite, as if whoever stood outside already knew he would answer. His room felt smaller with every breath, the silence tightening around him like a closing fist. He stepped back from the door, heart hammering, phone trembling in his hand as he lifted it toward the window. But before he could record anything, the porch light flickered, then died. Darkness swallowed the front of the house. Another knock. 2 taps this time, rhythmic. Ethan's instinct screamed, "Don't look," yet he found himself drawn toward the window. He lifted one corner of the curtain an inch, and his entire body locked. The street was empty. His yard was empty. But the angle of the camera on Google Maps had changed again. The satellite view now showed a top-down image of his house, with something massive overhead, like a shadow cast by an invisible structure. The map began glitching, fractured squares flickering like broken glass. A new message appeared across the center of the screen. "You saw us." Then another line. "Now we see you." The knocking stopped. For a moment, Ethan thought whatever was outside had left. But then he heard it, a slow, scraping sound right behind his bedroom door,
something dragging its nails across the wood, tracing the outline of the frame as if testing where it was weakest.
The scraping at the door grew sharper, more intentional, like whatever stood behind it had realized Ethan was alone and afraid. He backed away until his legs hit the side of the bed. His phone vibrated violently in his hand, almost leaping from his fingers. When he looked down, Google Maps had switched to Street View again, without him touching it. This time, the image wasn't outside. It was inside his house. A narrow hallway he recognized instantly, the one leading to his bedroom. The picture quality was grainy, warped with static, as though taken by a malfunctioning camera, yet unmistakably real. Ethan's stomach twisted when he noticed something in the corner of the frame, a tall, gaunt silhouette, standing at the end of the hallway, its head tilted at an unnatural angle, as if listening. The image refreshed. Now the figure was closer. Another refresh. Closer. Another. Just feet away. Ethan's breath caught. He turned slowly toward his bedroom door, dread sinking into his bones. The scraping had stopped. The silence was deeper than before, so deep he could hear his pulse pounding in his ears. His phone refreshed one final time. The screen went black for a second. Then a new Street View image loaded. It was taken inside his bedroom, from inches behind him. And standing over his shoulder was the same silhouette.
Ethan froze. His muscles refused to react, as if the air itself had turned to thick cement around him. Slowly, painfully slowly, he forced himself to turn his head toward the spot where the figure should have been standing. But there was nothing. Just the dim outline of his bedroom, trembling shadows, and the faint hum of his dying phone battery. He exhaled shakily, but the relief lasted only a second. His phone vibrated again, once, sharply. A notification appeared. New image added, last updated 0 seconds ago. Street View reopened by itself. The new image was pitch black at first, then shapes started to emerge. Ethan leaned closer, heart hammering. It wasn't a room anymore. It looked like an alleyway, narrow, decaying, draped in fog, the same alley he had seen earlier that night. But now, the alley wasn't empty. A figure stood at the center, shoulders hunched, face hidden by darkness. The image updated. Another figure appeared beside it. Then another, and another, until the alley was full, dozens of silhouettes, all facing the camera, all perfectly still. Ethan stepped back as a chilling realization hit him. These weren't random shapes, they were people. Their outlines matched the missing residents he had read about earlier. His phone vibrated again, harder this time, as if urging him to look. A new photo loaded. All the silhouettes were now looking upward, as though staring directly at Ethan through the screen.
Ethan dropped the phone, but the screen stayed lit, casting a cold, flickering glow across the room. The silhouettes in the alley didn't move, but something about them felt active, as if the image itself were breathing. He hesitated before picking the phone back up with trembling hands. The Street View timeline icon was blinking, red. That had never happened before. Against every instinct, Ethan tapped it. A new date appeared, one that made no sense. Live capture, 03:11 a.m. Google Maps didn't have a live mode. But the image began updating in real time, frames refreshing like a slow, glitching video feed. Ethan watched, frozen, as the silhouettes shifted, their heads tilted, their bodies swayed, their feet scraped closer to the camera with each new frame. Then Ethan noticed something else, a shape behind the crowd, taller than the others, elongated, almost stretched, like a shadow cast by something that shouldn't have a physical form. It hovered at the far end of the alley, its outline pulsing like a heartbeat. The figures in front parted, obediently, silently,
creating a path toward the camera. Ethan's breathing stuttered. No, 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 no. The tall shadow leaned forward, its elongated arm reaching toward the lens. Another frame updated. Its hand filled the screen. Another. Something pressed against the inside of Ethan's phone screen, distorting the pixels like liquid. Then a message appeared beneath the image, typed in perfect clarity. Stop looking for us.
Ethan stumbled backward as the message pulsed on the screen, each word glitching as if resisting being read. His first instinct was to throw the phone, but before he could, the device vibrated violently, freezing his muscles with a shock of cold dread. The Street View image updated one last time. The alley was empty. No silhouettes. No tall shadow. Just fog swallowing the street like a living thing. Then Ethan realized something horrifying. The camera angle had changed. It was no longer the Street View car's perspective. It was higher, human height, as if the camera were now seeing through the eyes of someone standing exactly where Ethan lived. A new text appeared beneath the image. Turn around. The room went silent. Not quiet, silent. Even the ticking clock on the wall had stopped. Ethan's heartbeat thundered in his ears. Slowly, as if underwater, he lifted his gaze from the screen. A faint glow reflected off the window in front of him, an outline that hadn't been there before. A row of silhouettes stood outside, perfectly still, perfectly aligned, just like in the alley. One by one, they stepped closer, but their movements didn't match the soundless room. Not footsteps, not breathing, only a low, distant hum, like a frequency felt inside the bones. Ethan's phone vibrated again. A final message appeared. The neighborhood is not lost, it's awakening. The last thing Ethan saw before the lights went out was his own reflection in the glass and a tall, elongated shadow rising behind him.